I'm sure you've seen all around the shop a midi skirt in satin cut on the bias that is like the must-have for this season. So I have this one in a bottle green, so let's recreate it. It should be a really easy skirt to make under an hour. It has an elastic band on the waistline, so it's less of a fuss of zippers, and then the inside is perfectly hemmed and nicely done because we're going to make French seams, and then it's really nice because it's cut on the bias. That's the only thing. When you buy your fabric, the meters you get is the grain of the fabric and the width of the roll is the cross grain. And then this diagonal is the bias, which is the flowiest bit because it's the stretchiest. So this skirt is special because it's cut on the bias and it's really flowy and it moves really nicely while you walk. And how do I cut on the bias? I'm going to fold my fabric and have the selvage edge together. So this bit, it's still on the grain. I'm going to fold a triangle down, and this really stretchy bit is the bias. So here is where I'm going to place my pattern, which is not really a pattern because we only need our hip measurement. The top is going to have an elastic band, so we only need half our hip to trace both, to cut both panels, and then a centimeter extra for just ease. Don't go just yet, stay with me until the end because I'll tell you how much fabric I used and how much was it, which is the really important thing. And if you like this kind of content, consider subscribing because I upload twice a week and that way you don't miss anything. And I leave you my Instagram account as well in case you want to have a look at my everyday struggles. So with your hip measurement in half, in my case it's 92 centimeters in half, I'm going to trace my rectangle of material on the bias, and mine is not going to be as long as the one on fashion is because I haven't got that much fabric, but you can leave the length you want really. And two little tips to take into account when tracing a skirt. Our body is not flat, even though the pattern is, so we have to make it a bit more, to have it more volume. So on the waistline, we're going to lower down the middle bit by 2 centimeters, and we're going to round all of that. And then the length, we need the length to be all the same. So once we do that, we are going to measure it. Mine is 70 centimeters. I'm going to work with the fabric I have, so I'm going to replicate those 70 centimeters all around the skirt. And one tip if you have too many layers to cut is to cut a few first, for example 2, and then lift them as a model for the next 2.
With my panels cut on the bias, I'm going to sew them with French seam, first on the wrong side and then on the right side, so I can hem and add an elastic band.
Look at this, how it moves and the color of it. I'm in love. So with this done, I'm going to sew. I have my needle 9014 and my polyester thread, and I'm going to sew with a French seam. I love French seams. They are really good because the finish is really clean and you don't have any worries about fraying. So instead of going right sides together, the French seam starts sewing wrong sides together, so you can then hem, so you can then press that seam open and sew it on the right side. I only left like a centimeter seam allowance, so it was easier, but even though you have to trim it a little bit. So now I'm going to put it right sides out to press this seam really well. So let me press the seam as well, so it is quite neat. These kind of skirts are really useful now at this time of the year because with any top you can go anywhere, like even New Year's Eve, and you look amazing at any party. And even though on an everyday basis I always wear my dresses with trainers and jumpers or t-shirts, and they look really nice. I mean, I can't wear it. I can't wait for an event to wear the things I sew, can I? And for the hemline, I'm going to do as I did with my wedding dress, and it looked really nice. And it is to fold once, make a simple hem right on the edge, and then cut the excess off, and then fold again and sew again. It takes a while because you're sewing 2 seams, but it is worth it. And now, of course, a bit of pressing. And for the elastic band, I'm just going to measure where I want it to land. And one little tip I saw is that instead of overlapping and sew it on top, it looked quite bulky on a skirt like this with this kind of fabric. You just need to put it together without overlapping it and sew the zigzag right there. And that way it'll be perfectly fine, it'll be perfectly sewn together, and it won't look bulky at all, it will look seamless. And to sew the elastic band to the skirt is really easy and simple. We're going to eyeball it. I love eyeballing. And we're just going to pin it to the side seams, and then the rest we're going to measure halves and sew it and pin it to half the fabric. And that way, even though you see it a bit wonky or a bit loose, it won't, because we're going to stretch it while we sew with a zigzag as well, and that's it. It's going to be fine. And now the final touch is to fold the elastic band in and press it so it gets a bit of shape, the fabric, and it stays there, because we can do any other seams because we want this seamless and sleek look. And one thing we can do is attach it, sew it to the side seams on top, because we won't see this as much, but the rest has to be seamless. I think the result is amazing. It was really cheap to make. It only cost me €4 and I only had 80 centimeters long. And I thought I wouldn't have enough, because when you have your fabric, maybe you need more on the side to get more volume or to get more length on your fabric, cutting it on the bias. I've never done anything on the bias before, I think. Well, maybe, I'm not sure. but I'm really pleased. It is really flowy, it looks really nice, and I think it's an ideal garment for this time of the year. You can dress it up with a blouse or a nice top, and you can even go to New Year's Eve with this, or you can dress it down and wear it on an everyday basis to work or for a walk. It looks amazing either way. So let me know down in the comments what you thought, if you're going to sew yourself something special to wear during this time of the year, and don't forget to subscribe and to like, and that way we'll see each other next week. Well, I won't see you, but you'll see me next week. Bye!